fellow Scenarians. Be sure to stay locked in by subscribing to www.thescenarioradioshow.com and pull up a seat to the grown-ups table. Also, hit the notification button to make sure you don't miss any Real Talk with the playlist. You are listening to the Scenario Radio Show once again with our bonus content. This is a piece of what we've been doing for our show entitled Come Into My House, as we've been covering house music in all of its aspects, because house music is something that's really interesting and that's different from a lot of other types of black music, in that there is a lot of regional flair that goes into house music. So what we decided to do was to get some house music practitioners that were from different regions around the country and talk to them about why house music is special to them, what it is they love about it, how they got into it, all of that. So that's what we're going to be doing on this particular bonus content episode that we have. So with us, we have 3 guests, one from Baltimore, one from Detroit, one from Chicago. Brothers, how y'all doing?
Good, man.
Great.
Peace.
Doing great today. Good evening, gentlemen.
All right.
Absolutely.
Splendid.
All right.
Good to be here, man. Good to be here.
So, all right, one of the things that came to mind for me when I decided that I wanted to have this discussion was that as a subgenre of music, house music has some of the most dedicated fans. And I mean that to say, whereas a lot of subgenres of music have these moments in the sun, and they have their kind of big moment where, for instance, if it was snap music or everything from disco to reggaeton, where there's a moment where it's at the center of popular culture, it's a big, huge thing, and then after that, that's pretty much it. You don't really hear people, advocate for it nearly as much. You got a couple of people who follow it, but house music has been something that since its inception has had a really devoted following. And I've always wondered what it was that made that, what made that the case. What is it about house music, as you understand it, from your perspective, your region, that creates that kind of devotion in people?
Oh, so that's easy, man. So I would say that a lot of music that comes off as fads is just a trend. Right. Mm-hmm. And when it becomes cultural, then it becomes art. And so art is something that is timeless. Right. So people still go look at the Mona Lisa. Right. People still associate the drums and this to Africa. Right. Because it's a part of the culture. So coming out of Detroit, house was the music that allowed expression for a city that's been going through a lot since its inception, from the ups and downs. And so the house allowed us to jit, it allowed us to blend things that kind of associated from Black Bottom all the way to Jitterbug, bringing in even the gangs from the Earl Flynn and things like that associated to even the male dancing scene was jitting. And jitting became battling for people of all shapes and sizes. You could be a thug on the street and you jit. You could be somebody coming up from the suburbs and you would jit, and you would use house to express yourself. Because one thing I say is dancing is one of the purest forms of freedom, because it allows you to create and connect with nobody else but yourself. So that is why in Detroit it's bigger than just something that's ringing for the time being. It's something that stays with you from a familiar standpoint.
So jit, that's more, like you say, it's more of a derivative. You mentioned jitterbug. I assume that's kind of like where it gets its roots from, that dance, that particular dance form. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's an area in Detroit called Black Bottom. That's where Joe Louis is, where a lot of boxers and stuff are from. It was a very popping area at the beginning when most people moved up north. They kind of moved there, and it became a tough area to be from. But some of that started to be called black bottoming, was basically like a certain gyration and vibe. But then when Jitterbug was starting to move through, which kind of came from the Charleston and all of that started to blend in a certain way. But once you started having, there's a group called the Earl Flynn. It was a gang. They started to stack and started to kind of similar to what they did in the West Coast with sea walking, but they started to blend stacking and oppression, and even the gangs and the more I would say rural areas or urban areas would want to express themselves, and they use dance as a way to do it, to the point where they were battling. But then they started using pop locking and the stuff from New York and the hip hop and the break dances. So we started to gel it all. So you could see somebody breaking, biscoing, male dancing, jitting, footwork, all in the same set.
Mm-hmm.
And so jitting became an expression where you could pretty much do whatever you wanted. And it became very, very attention getting from the ladies, but also you could battle as tough as you could be with a bunch of fellas. So I've seen people jitting with had to be like, hold my gun while they jitting. Like literally, I've seen people do that. You know what I mean? And then go to the nightclub and now all the ladies is snapping fingers and throwing dollars. So it became such an expression and an art that you could take it either way you wanted to go.
Yeah. So what is it at the roots of it in Baltimore for you, Drew? From Drew's
So
house.
if you could open your mind, think of yourselves as a 7-year-old walking on one of the most popular streets in your city.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Baltimore, we have a bunch of row housing. We have a lot of like bank building type streets where there's a lot of like major big buildings, but they're all attached to one another.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So at 7 years old, you're walking around and you're seeing this and you're seeing all these big buildings. And, you know, I'm setting the scene. You're already overwhelmed because you're a kid and you're looking up and you're seeing all of this architecture, all these different things. And then you walk up to these two doors, these two black doors that has an awning on top that just says Odell's, you'll know if you belong. Um, and as I said, at 7 years old, my mother's saying, we have to go here because I don't have a babysitter for you. Um, so this is where we're going to be tonight. But before we even open the door, I hear this. I'm just like, damn, what is that? Like as a child, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
Mama, what is that? And she's like, baby, just come on, you know, don't do too much. This is my first time going because this is my first time going. She
Well,
just
yeah,
wants
seven. I
me
figured it would be in your first.
right.
I didn't think you
But
was already
well,
frequent in the place.
You feeling,
In there
you
with a
know,
you feeling
tab
that
at
thumping.
7.
but I'm feeling that thump, and at the same time, she's saying to a 7-year-old, be quiet, do what I ask you to do, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So when they open the doors, you hear it a little louder, doof, doof, doof. But when you walk into the foyer, to the right, that's the tickets. To the left, there's the coat room. And in front of you, there's two more doors that mimic those two doors, and it's nothing but glass and mirrors. Okay. I'm losing my whole life because I'm going, what is all of this? Because this now looks like an amusement park. This looks like all types of things that a kid would just fall in love with.
Hmm.
Right? I mean,
Life
seriously, like
changing.
it's lights and it's freaking me out, but in a good way because I'm like, damn, I like what I'm hearing, and in the background, I'm hearing "I Want to Thank You" by Alicia Myers.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
that song is hitting, and for me, I'm thinking back when my mother was having her house parties at home. These were those songs that they used to play, right?
Hmm.
And I'm hearing that doom 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 doom, and I'm hearing people making noise and yelling and all of that. Now, mind you, that door hasn't opened yet, but I'm just freaking because I'm seeing all of this glitter and the mirrors and all of that stuff. And she takes me to the coat room where she works, and she's like getting she's starting her job. People are coming in. You got all these people looking fly. I'm talking, you remember all of those pictures where you see your mom and dad at those clubs and sitting on the chair,
The
sitting
wicker
on that
chair.
wicker chair and all of those
Yeah.
things. All I'm seeing right now are just beautiful black folks that are coming in there dressed to the T, going into this place. And I mean, they're excited. As a kid, I can see they're excited to go into this place called Odell. I finally get the chance. It was like if you've seen The Wiz, remember when the children were dancing and it was like they were doing gold and green and doing all of the different colors when The Wiz um, pronounce what was hit for that moment. Those two mirrored doors opened up. All of that sound came rushing out, And when I tell you it hit my heart and my soul, I had never experienced anything like that in my life. So the booth of Odell's is right there through those two doors, and I can see these two guys up in the booth acting a complete fool. And when I say that, they are jumping up and down, they're dancing, and all you see is lights and just all of the things that you think about when it comes to a real club environment, a real dance environment. You've
Yeah.
heard of Studio 54, Paradise Garage, all of those different places. This was ours. I didn't know about those places. All I knew about was Odell's.
Odell's. Yeah.
Brother,
So let me ask
Yeah.
you. So
changed
it
my life.
obviously had a profound effect on you, and it was something that
Yes,
apparently was the thing that launched you into house music.
yes,
I'm assuming you didn't quite get your hands on the two turntables at that time at
no,
7.
I did not.
What what point did you become a practitioner? I suppose. I mean, I assume that you just started going to the clubs much later, or was it? Did that become a regular occurrence for you, kind of going there? And if so, what was that like for you?
It was, and just I want to. It's so much there, but I'm gonna condense it as much as I can. Is yes, I was going because my mother worked there part time. She was a
Hmm.
secretary for public school, so I was going every week with her. Right
Okay.
when she didn't have a babysitter. Now think about this. Now and I'm 7 years old now, y'all. I'm seeing things that a 7 year old should not be seeing.
Yeah.
I'm learning about transvestites, gay people, anything, drugs, everything
Yeah.
is right there in my face,
Hmm.
right? But there was something about that booth that I continued to hold on to through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11
Hmm.
years old, um, that really fascinated me. And I wanted to know, how did they do that? Because
Hmm.
along with all of that they was doing that you could see, you also saw the visuals of it, the lights and everything. And I mean, the lights and the music went together so perfectly. It, dude, it's still to this day, I have not been to any club that could do the things that this place did. And the music, of course, we're talking about the Philly sound, all of those songs at that time started transitioning into disco, started transitioning into more of that house sound.
Yeah.
So we're getting all of that, but it's being presented in this beautiful, creative technique of these
Yeah.
two guys upstairs DJing, making us lose our everlasting mind.
Do you remember who the DJs were? Just
Um, it was Pee Wee and Wayne Davis.
Wayne Davis, Pee Wee.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right.
Okay.
yes.
So, Gerald, yourself as a DJ, what was the beginning of it for you, and what is it
Oh
about
man.
Chicago house that makes Chicagoans,
Yeah.
gravitated to it so strongly?
Oh man. I don't know. It was like a lifestyle. A it was it's just a part of the Chicago culture. It is the birthplace of house music. When you really get down to organic house music, Trax Records, DJ International, all of that stuff. Um, I don't know. It was just a part of the culture, man. I mean, once you go into one of these events, I mean, it's life changing. You just got to go there. I mean, the spirit of the people, the way the music touch you. So um, I don't know. It's just an amazing experience growing up. I mean, I got to see everybody from Frankie Knuckles, from Hardy, Lil Lewis. So yeah, man. Um,
So for you, it was so inundated into the culture that you probably didn't
yeah,
even recognize that it was a thing until you probably went elsewhere. Probably, I would
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it was just a lifestyle in Chicago. You know,
Okay.
I mean, you could have everything else going on, but house music, ran the city.
Yeah.
And they pretty much still do.
Mhm.
And
So
a lot of the
so
Detroit guys was coming down there too, because I remember in the early days, like Derek May and those guys would be coming down. Yeah. So, and that's when he was doing the what is it? What was his early joints on Transmat Records? Derek May.
Okay.
Move It, yeah, Move It, he had Move It,
Yeah. All
and
right.
a few other joints. So yeah.
So since house music, of course, originated in Chicago, and
Mhm.
based on my limited understanding of the history of it, that it was something that was came as disco began to wane. House music
Mhm.
sort of filled in that gap. What is it that's distinct to your taste about Detroit house? Is there anything that you think that stands out or is distinct about Detroit house that
Oh,
that you've noticed different from any other place, Edmund?
Absolutely. First of all, I still hear them say that the originator of house. So we're gonna have to fact check that. You think I'm from Detroit gonna let that just slide?
I love
Just
it. I
no,
gonna let
love it.
that ride
I
out? Like
love
we're
it.
gonna
no,
have to
no.
fact check that.
Come
No,
on, Edmund, you know.
no, hey,
Hey,
look,
you guys are birthplace of techno. That's Juan Atkins. Y'all are the originators for sure.
and that's what I was talking about. So it's funny you say that, right? So what's interesting about Detroit, what you just said, is that
Uh-huh.
we do have a division. There's techno and then there's house, right? So
Uh-huh.
let
Yeah.
me tell you why this is huge. Let me tell you why this is huge and kind of funny, right? So when we were younger, right? I didn't care about techno or jitting first. We cared about house.
Yeah.
Why? As a young man, you're gonna know where I'm going with this. When you start turning 13,
Yeah.
14, things start
Oh,
to
we was young.
change,
Yeah.
right? Your desires in life start to change. So whatever the ladies or the girls like, that's what you like. So when
Uh-huh.
you start hearing house that you like, I better know how to dance. I better know how, if
That's where the
you on
girls was at, wasn't it?
that's where they were at. You in the base. Okay,
Oh
tell
man.
me, let me stop me when I'm wrong. You in the basement. All right, back in the Chicago, y'all had basements. We had basements. We don't have
Uh-huh.
them in
Yeah.
Florida. You come down those steps, you 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever that is, and you see certain songs, whether it was Scrub the Ground, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
when you got wherever you were, you had to know what you were doing. You had to move with the beat, and
Yeah.
that was house. So that was what they called the booty shake, right? So that's what most young guys were like, hey, I got to at least know how to groove so I can have some respect with the ladies.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
when that techno started coming, only a certain amount of people wanted to go to the next level. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was younger, man, I started hearing the blow your house down. I started hearing, all these beats that didn't have any words. They were just hitting me in a
Yeah.
certain way. And I didn't know how to footwork. I didn't know how to jit. I didn't know how to do any of that. So I started trying to break. I couldn't really do it. I was like 13. And then I asked my cousin who was good at it, right? He didn't like to really like dance for real. He just knew how to jit. So I was like, bro, teach me how to break. So I started doing, we was watching Turbo and Ozone. I don't know if y'all know about that, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
we're
Yeah.
doing that today.
So we start, so we started learning, and in the basement, it was like a craft,
Mm-hmm.
man. So in Detroit, it became a battle. And I got
Yeah.
so good at it, man, that I went to a school called Cass Tech, man. I started battling so much that I would come home from football practice and jit for 3 or 4, 5 hours in the
Oh,
basement.
so you had
People would
gym
start
practice
come
and
over.
football practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I did on my freshman year, man, I went on stage at Cass Tech. It was the number one school in Detroit, or biggest school. And man, that feeling, it's a difference, man. I would say the difference, and you all could probably relate. The DJ booth, same thing. Certain people listen to the music, and there's another people that become the music,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm jitting, I don't see nothing, bro. Like
Yeah.
I'm in a space that is just my own. And I think when DJs are in their good DJs, when they're in their space, they become the music, they become the rhythm.
Yeah.
And I think in Detroit, you had the blend of house and techno. And I will say, man,
Mm-hmm.
that actually is what got me to become popular. I wasn't even trying to be, because I was in my zone. And it just became something I started having. We had a crew, we started dancing on stage, we were battling, we would win. And it became something. Even when I went back 20 on my 20th anniversary, everybody's like, what you got, Ed? And I came out, and it's just a culture, bro. And I will say,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
You
sum
get
it
in that
all up,
zone.
yeah, it's you can't even see no more, man.
Yeah.
You
You get
really
in that
can't.
zone.
And I
Yeah.
and I would say that I think is universal. But the thing I would say about Detroit is that it gave people with tough times or rough times a place to relate to the women, but also for men to battle each other in a friendly way that became therapeutic. That's what I would say it was. It was
Oh.
therapy for us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I know in
And it got you
Chicago,
some numbers too. If you knew what you was doing, you
yeah,
got some numbers. And the hip road, don't let me get on the Detroit hip road. That's a whole nother. Y'all can Google that. That's a whole nother element. But yeah, man, that's what it was for us coming up.
yeah.
Gerald.
Yeah. Now, I just know in Chicago, you would have your serious people who know how to boogie that was on the floor. But I think the beautiful thing about it was that, there was really no wrong way to dance as long as you was on beat and enjoying it. I mean, you was a part of the family. So the music was just something special, man. And like I said, I got to see a lot of the early guys, Farley, Ron Hardy, Frank. I mean, marathon parties. I mean, that would go from Friday night till Monday morning.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah,
getting
that's
beaten
heavy.
when I get home because I ain't been home in 3 days and shit. So yeah,
Oh wow.
and
Now
yeah,
that's a
man,
first. I haven't heard of that one.
I was wild, man. And I was a graffiti artist in Chicago too, so we would be up all weekend, writing on trains and then going to parties and getting back and just it was wild, man. But it was all worth it. It was just a special time. The music changed a lot of people's lives, and just like you say, Edmund, I mean, you would come to these parties, especially Ron Hardy and Frankie parties. I mean, you'll have thugs there, but they're just there and they're enjoying the party just like anybody that's gay or straight, just having a good time. So the music was that catalyst that kept everybody together. So yeah.
Drew, what is it that makes Baltimore's house sound distinct to you? Is there anything that, when you think about it sonically, that makes it distinct?
Well, if I could, real quick, with
Hmm.
sharing with you my experience, the one thing that I then found out is that yes, I was early and I got a lot of privileges because my mother worked at Odell's, but I found that all of us as kids were introduced to house at a very early age. And we used to have kiddie discos at Odell's as well. So
Hmm.
when I had a birthday party at 9 years old, now think about you got a party at this club and all of these kids are in there and they're in there to celebrate your birthday, right? That was for all of us. Like we all had a chance to have our birthdays at the kiddie discos. So along with feeling special and getting those privileges, the music, of course, worked right along with that. And that just made it even more amazing. Um, so with Baltimore, first, I would say Chicago, Detroit, New York, we can I don't like to separate them, but I know folks do.
Hmm.
House is
Yeah.
house for me. Okay.
Okay.
I like it. I like it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Right. If some of it I don't like, okay. But for us, we dance to it all from, um, like you say, Mr. Fingers and
Yeah.
tracks labels to our own labels. It was we.
Yeah.
I can tell you
Even
right
even
now, we didn't
even
separate.
Even
Yes,
Euro. We played
absolutely.
Talking Heads.
We didn't
Daft Punk.
separate it. We even played
You know,
Pet Shop Boys. I mean, all that stuff. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
so
the
there was
class.
a time. This is where things evolved and changed. We were just partying off of dance music, disco, house music.
Hmm.
Then we had this DJ by the name of Frank Ski who came to Baltimore. All right, you have him, and I don't want to be long winded. I'm gonna hit some points and keep it moving. We got the New Marks, we got the Basement Boys, we got Sean Marshall, we got all these different DJs that are on now. You had WEBB, V103, all of these stations that are all now having these DJ clicks. Um, so now you get the DJs, they started doing a little producing. And we all know the song Doo Doo Brown that Frank Ski came out with. That right there, believe it or not, man, changed the sound of the house that we were all used to. And it started going in that direction of Doo Doo Brown, which we all know in a sense comes from the South. It comes from bass music,
Uh huh.
right? So what Frank did was put the two of those together and came. He, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that he fully came up with it by himself, but I know I was there to see and know that this man produced this song with some other DJs there, and they came up with that song. And if you notice, everything after that, it's 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 just sped up Miami bass. Bottom line, I mean, for it is. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm not going. It's no need to try to be all deep about it. It's what it is. It's
Yeah.
bass music sped up with our own little snares and beats
Yeah. I
that
noticed
that we hold on. Yeah,
the snares seem to be a
yeah.
prevalent part of what's going on with
Big time,
Baltimore
Yeah.
stuff.
big
That
time.
with, like you mentioned, Doodoo Brown, "Dance My Pain Away," stuff like that.
Yeah,
Seem
they
to, yeah,
probably out there. Yeah, in Chicago at the house clubs. Yeah, you probably wasn't
Right.
gonna get that too much. Maybe
Yeah.
on some of the younger kids events,
Right.
but the
uh huh,
older heads,
No,
yeah, you
it's
probably couldn't get away
not
bumping that.
Detroit had a
Yeah,
lot more hi hats. We didn't have
yeah,
as many snares like that, but true story,
mm-hmm.
true story. I want to blend some of the things you just said about Florida and Chicago. So me going to
happening.
Florida A&M in 1999, true story. We sitting here playing spades, and I heard some house in the. I'm like, okay, somebody playing some Detroit. I'm like, hold on. That's not Detroit. It was the
yeah, yeah.
Juke
It's a
Slide by
distinct sound.
DJ Chip, right?
Mm,
Yeah,
And I'm
mm,
like, wow, I'm like, that thing going hard. So my buddy from Chicago was like, man, you don't know nothing about footwork. So in my mind, I'm thinking footwork from Jitten. He thinking footwork from Chicago. Man, let me
yeah.
tell you, we
that's what's
had the
up.
whole dorm rocking because he was footwork and I was Jitten. He taught me the South Side percolator, but it was all love. It was like we were like cousins
Yeah.
because of the community of it. And BSU not.
That's
Some
my
of the
boy.
guys from Miami came up there and was like, play the scrub. I'm like, scrub the ground. That's a Detroit song. They're like, no, it's not. That's South Florida. I was like, really? I didn't even know that because we
Look,
listened to Scrub the Ground, Footwork, Techno,
Mm.
and all in the same time. And then here comes some people from Baltimore, like, man, we listen to techno. I'm like, y'all don't listen to what? So it just
yeah,
became, and was funny, we all danced on stage at FAMU together in unity. It was all like love. It was like a family reunion. And I just remember that because that was something that me and that guy, we been cool ever since. And the girls too from Chicago would do it. Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
women in Detroit now, even then, they started jitting more. But
Mhm.
back then, I think it was more footwork was more prevalent with women out of Chicago during that time. Now it's kind of
Yeah.
like even, but I would say Chicago had that percolator. You watch somebody
Oh
from
yeah,
Chicago
yeah.
percolate, it's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, the young kids was definitely percolating. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially on the
So,
west and south sides of Chicago. That's
Yeah.
definitely what the young kids were doing. Because they was more into like DJ Funk and those kind of guys. And the older heads was, maybe more to Lil Lewis, Ron Hardy, and these guys. So it was more disco based. But the younger generation, yeah, they was definitely more footwork. So yeah, percolator, work
and
that
that
motherfucker.
yes,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
exactly. And all of
okay,
that again. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm just I'm gonna be the
No,
one
no,
that's
speak, bro.
gonna
Speak.
I'm gonna be the
Speak,
one
yeah.
that's gonna bring us here because I can't wait until them two go back and forth. But that's what it did. That's what house music
Yeah,
does. It brings us all together.
yeah, it
Like
does.
for us in Baltimore, dude, we were kicking it. The hardest dudes were kicking it with the gayest guys, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had Miss Tony, different celebrities that came out with songs with Frank Ski and the Basement Boys and all of those different folks, man. And it just
Mm-hmm.
turned into one house,
hmm
Oh yeah, it's that
one
music.
house.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
Yes,
that music just bring them
we
together. That's
partied
all it's about.
together. We all partied
So
together.
with house music being something that seems to have such a strength of community about it, it has its own subculture. It has this thing about bringing people together. What do you think it is? And in the places where it is strong, it has remained strong. It never stops being strong. What do you think it is that has kept it from getting the amount of national attention that a lot of other music genres get at some point or another? I mean, there are
No,
always
it
music
gets it.
genres. Yeah, well, I
It
mean,
gets
I
it.
know. I know it gets played across the nation, but the same way, for instance, I'll use go-go as an example. Go-go is something we know as specific to its region, and we know that's
Yeah.
specific to like DC. And there was a moment where go-go was everybody had a go-go song on their album,
Yeah.
you know, in R&B, hip hop,
Hmm.
whatever, in the late '80s, early '90s, and then it may have kind of tapered off, but. And there's always been a time that there's every now and then you see a house a song that has a very house undertones will break through and be a big single. We're having kind of a resurgence of that even right now, with Beyonce and Drake both having albums with a lot of that content on their albums.
Right.
But I've always wondered what it was that, despite the fact that when people hear it, they always gravitate to it. What has not allowed it to take hold the same way that a lot of other subgenres gain the same type of popularity? If you follow what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I want to go last on that. I want to answer this question last. Y'all go first.
Well, if I can,
Okay.
one, it has that connotation to it, that gay connotation to it. And also with that, I believe it's because of the music industry as a whole. Um, you know, they give what they want to give the publicity and the attention. But the one thing to know though, house music gets its due all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The funny thing you see is you hear all of these different names for it. Like you say, techno, but then they take it to EDM and all of these different types. And what you see most of the time with all of these people, white people, you see these stadiums being done, with DJs and they bouncing up and lights and all this other kind of stuff. But to me, the core of all of that is us. It's still house music. They can play and try to make it what they want to. But when I see it, I always just shake my head and go, that's just us. And somebody has given them the platform to make the money and make it big. But we still have our house in the parks in Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit,
Hmm.
New York,
Yeah.
all of those things in
Mm-hmm.
overseas.
Right. Yeah.
These things still happen. It's just
Yeah.
again the
Oh, it's
powers that
huge.
be
It's
it's
huge.
huge.
It's
It just
huge.
the powers that be they put it up and they make it more white and give all of that money to them when truly, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I know we don't have enough time to get so detailed, but for me, it's the industry itself that
Yeah.
is slowing that down.
So, Gerald, do you think it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, or do you think? I mean, maybe you
No,
feel that it's
it's not.
doing like it's
No,
supposed to do. I don't.
I mean, I think it's getting recognition. I mean, like in Chicago, we have the Chosen Few picnic. It's one of the biggest picnics in North America. One of the biggest house music festivals. But if you want to talk about the money, yeah, a lot of the guys are not picking up the huge, paychecks like their white counterparts, and yeah, and like the guy from Baltimore was saying that yeah, they just get different endorsements, but with us, I mean, we love the music. The music is good. I mean, they get the huge paychecks and all that, all the flashing lights, but when you come to events, the music is real, and people know that, and you seeing these huge diverse crowds growing every year at the events in Chicago, in Detroit, and all these other places. So no, I think it does get its recognition. I mean, man, I think it
Okay.
does. Yeah.
All right. Well, and what about you, Edmund?
So I'm gonna answer it a couple ways, right? So number one, I think originally some of the lyrics just couldn't go on the radio. So let's start with that, right? However, it also wasn't something that if you think about who controlled the airways back in the day and still to this day to a certain extent, I mean, we got a lot of freedom of expression with social media and everything, but it wasn't made for money. It was made for community. It was made for connection. It was made for what we've been talking about. That the
Right.
monetization wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
wasn't
You
the
can feel
purpose of it.
authenticness.
It
Yeah.
was authentic, right? So it might be 3 or 4 words to the whole song, but the groove was everything. And taking it back, so I give respect where respect is due. Chicago is the pioneer, right? But one of the people, it was a DJ, I believe his name was Silk.
Caesar Curley.
Yeah.
Caesar Curley.
So like in the 80s, he had a track called Jack Your Body.
Yeah.
That thing became number one in the UK. Number one. Right?
Yeah.
But nobody knew about it. Why? Because it went over to what they call acid house. And they got into rave and all of that. Where did people, it was crazy, is people started thinking that rave was where house came from.
Oh no, hold on. Well, you may be referring to Marshall Jefferson. Move your body.
No, he's right. He's right about Jack Your Body.
It was Jack Your Body. Move Your Body was
okay, yeah, because all them guys was going over there at that time. Adonis,
right.
Caesar Curley, DJ Pierre.
Yeah. But it got to the point where you started seeing a culture use it so much that you think that they create, just like yoga. People think yoga is a certain culture. Yoga is from India. Like that's way back. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So you start hearing house, you start thinking like Miami. You know how much house they play down here in South Florida?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's common, but the Midwest, the Baltimores, those areas is where it originated. So I would say some of those people also, man, the DJs that created it, they didn't have the A&Rs, they didn't have the management, they didn't have the deals to, you know what I mean? Some of them did, but most of them were in their basement making hits because they loved to DJ and party.
Right. And a lot of them been able to sustain themselves, but I mean, they're not making a huge money, but now you're starting to see a lot of these guys starting to reap some of the benefits from the early work they put in. Like you're starting to see Fingers starting to own the right to their stuff. You got DJ Pierre going over as a director of Trax Records with everything that done happen over there. So, you know, I know a lot of guys that they're traveling overseas right now and they working. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear.
All right. Well, yeah, it's always good to hear when, because I mean, we all know the common story of us creating an art form and then somebody else reaping all of the benefits from it. So it's good to see that that's embraced. And to be honest, I recognize that one of the reasons that it's been that I think some people probably don't recognize how pervasive and how widespread house music is because it's not a radio friendly format like you were mentioning, Edmund, and even in length. You know, they always have a constriction. They want it to be short. They want it to have, you know, this hook here, this hook there, and everything.
Yeah,
and
it might take 4 minutes for the intro to end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So house music goes against those conventions, and that itself is going to.
And with house music, it's an in-person experience. You know what I mean? We had it on the radio in Chicago, but it was nothing like, you know, going to one of those loft parties and just sweating it out. So I mean, it's really an in-person experience where you really get the full impact of what it is and see all the people that are kind of conjugating like church and just you know enjoying themselves. I mean, you know, I done been to parties and the music got people out there crying. I mean, because you know it's just done, you know, help them through something or whatever the case may be. So
it's funny you say that. I think it was like the best form of marketing when a DJ was live on the radio and you in the house, you like, oh no, we got to get dressed.
Yeah, I got to get there.
We got to get down there because I got.
Yeah, we'll hit a hot mix 5. Yeah, you know,
it's a spiritual experience. The majority
very spiritual experience.
Are speaking about love, God, togetherness. So when you have songs that are hitting you in your heart like that, in your soul, that are talking to you, you have no other reaction but to start crying or to start shouting. It's gospel. It's spiritual.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's always been for us, truly.
And I know in Chicago,
some of our tracks were not spiritual though. We was freak nasty. Some.
Oh yeah.
Of course,
I was trying to
touch
go
soul
one extreme
from a different angle.
Yeah, the music would go from one extreme to the other. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, you'll hear everything in there. You'll hear some Clash. You know, like I say, some Talking Heads. You know, some James Brown. Just a little bit of everything. You know, and I, you know, I know with us, I mean, like the parties wouldn't get jumping until midnight, you know, so especially Ron Hardy, you know, you talking 1 a.m. You can go home and take a nap and then go at 1 a.m. And I mean, it's just getting started, you know, so I mean, they would be going to 7, 8 in the morning, you know, you leave out of there looking like a zombie, you know, so yeah, man.
All right.
Some
before
good
before I
days. Some good
before I
days.
wrap things up with you guys, I wanted to make sure that people knew about a song that for you, if you were introducing someone to house music and you wanted to let them know the magic of what it was, if you had one song to pick for them, what would that song be? Drew, let's start with you.
It would be Martin Circus, Disco Circus.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Yeah, we used to bump
Um,
All
that back
right.
in the day. Yeah.
that um, that song that came out in 1977. Um, so when I when I heard it, well, let's just that song. If you listen to it, and I think
Yeah.
it's 9 minutes long, 10 minutes long.
Yeah, you got to
It
play the long
has
version.
yes, it has all of these different areas and breaks and chord, just all of these different sounds. All right. Um, and for me, every type of house genre, if we want to say, as you know, I like to just put them all together,
Hmm.
comes from that album. I'm from that song to me.
Okay.
It's just, it's perfect. It's perfect. And I used to watch those two DJs bring those parts back and forth and manipulate them with those turntables, man. It blew me away. And it still blows me away to this day because I have still yet to hear, and I'm talking some of the best DJs that know how to play classics, because not too many people know how to do that well.
Yeah, you
They
got to know how to play classics.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
for
You
sure.
got to know
Yeah.
that music. I still
Yeah.
have yet to hear someone play this song, Martin Circus, Disco Circus, the way they used to in Odell. It's
Right.
Hmm.
just,
I'm gonna
it's.
send you some mixes, brother.
Please,
Yeah.
please tell me, because I mean that one
Yeah.
song, I
Yeah.
haven't, but
Yeah.
that right
They used
there
to beat that in Chicago,
is for me.
and they still do probably.
But I hope they do. They still beat it in
Yeah.
Baltimore like it's a
Yeah.
brand new song.
Yeah. It's definitely a
You know,
classic. Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
Uh, so Gerald, what about you? What song is it that is the song that you
Man,
would introduce people with?
Marshall Jefferson, "Move Your Body." That is the house music anthem. You know, gotta have house
Bro,
music.
we
Yeah.
gonna have to
So
fuss about that
yeah,
one day.
without a doubt, Marshall Jefferson. I mean, one of
Okay.
the pioneers. Yeah, the culture. So yeah.
No
Yeah, they
doubt.
the ones who took it over to Europe and set it off, you know. So yeah, and they went over there and turned them people out. So yeah. Hmm.
And Edmund, what about you?
I gotta say two. I gotta say two. So
Okay.
I tell you,
That's
and
not fair.
because it's two different vibes, right? Right. So if I'm from Detroit, we kind of
It's
do
like
what we want to do.
Detroit always got to make extra
Here
rules.
we
It's a
go.
Exactly.
All
Detroit
right,
thing. They always got to
Extra.
be extra with it.
brother.
Yeah.
Gotta be
All
extra.
right.
So DJ Snowflake Godzilla is classic for jitting, for just house for
Uh-huh.
Detroit. Big Sean actually remixed it. But my personal favorite that I think has that soul that I like y'all to listen to is called a guy named Gerald called a track Blow Your
Okay, yeah,
House
yeah, a
Up.
guy named
Come on,
Gerald.
man.
Yeah.
Come on,
Oof,
man.
that one there to me is like is
Man,
everything that makes me just kind of lose myself in the moment of
Yeah.
it. It's an acquired taste, but a lot of people that really love the soul of house will like that
Yeah.
one. But Godzilla is more popular and more, the more
Hmm.
jit trendy one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I would
Okay.
say too, like Chicago and Detroit have this I mean, they just have this connection, even though the sounds are a little different. They've always had this connection. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's even in the early days, and it's even more now because a lot of DJs from Detroit are playing in Chicago. A lot of Chicago DJs are playing in Detroit now. Um, I know, Edmund, you may be familiar with DJ Righteous.
Hmm.
He's out there
Yep.
in Detroit now. So yeah, that's one of my Chicago brothers.
They
So
used to
yeah,
exchange vinyl. That's what it was.
yeah,
A lot of the
yeah,
vinyl
yeah,
shipping would just go to those certain Midwestern areas. And I know DJs, they would be like, man, I got a gig in Chicago. And they would
yeah.
switch. I used to dance with a lot of tracks from Chicago. I didn't even know it was from Chicago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think that's
yeah.
why they used to, it's the DJs. The DJ
But
control the whole room.
yeah, I thought Derek May was from Chicago. You know, I didn't, and later on, it's a Detroit guy, but I mean, we loved him there. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, always had this great relationship right in
Yep.
Chicago. Yeah.
Man, This has been great. I really appreciate each of you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
Before we get ready to wrap up, do any of you got anything you want to share as far as I know at least two of you, DJ. Y'all want to let people know where they can find you, or anything that you got, any brand that you got you want to share about. This
Yeah.
would be the time to do
Well,
it.
Gerald.
well, you can check us out at House Music Nashville. We on Facebook and Instagram at the Beat Deli. So you can follow me there. Follow our events. So yeah.
All right, the Beat Deli and House Music Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
DrewsHouse.com. DrewsHousc.com. That will take you to my SoundCloud page. It'll take you to um, my Instagram page, and also I've been twitching every now and then. But I'm also a part of Hands On Radio, which is a Baltimore house website as well. Um, that DJ Spins and the Charismas and all of those people are a part of. So Gerald, I want to get with you anyway, but yeah.
All right, all right.
I'll share how to get into. First of all, I just want to say much respect to the DJs. I used to DJ frat parties back in the day, but I have nothing against nothing with y'all. Y'all like way better than I was. I was just spinning a couple records. You know what I mean? But my Instagram is at Edmund Lee Legacy, and I'll be posting a lot more. And I'm actually going to be launching a podcast soon. But it's all about
Nice.
legacy creation. I've been to 37 countries studying culture, from the Maasai tribe to
Oh
Mayan
wow.
ruins to
Oh, good stuff.
yeah. So I share it from an emotional intelligence standpoint, financial. I'm also a luxury real estate agent. That's what I do. And I'm looking to
Yeah.
shift the tide and transform our legacies through not only financial education, but emotional and cultural, more so the cultural than anything. Our rites of passage, our music, our trends, those types of things last longer than the dollars that we get, but we got to use our
Yeah.
dollars to empower our culture. And so Edmund Lee Legacy is my tag on Instagram. So that's where that'll be launching.
Okay, no doubt. I'm gonna have to check with you on some of that. I might have to get you on as a guest for some stuff we're doing on the show.
For sure.
All right. Well, this has been another bit of bonus.
What's your
content
favorite
from-
track, bro? Hold on, you can't escape like
Who,
that.
me?
What's your favorite track? Yeah,
Exactly.
man.
I'm not even a house aficionado. Here's my favorite track right now.
What do you want?
Is Connected. Zoe and Tall Black Guy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, it's
And that his name is Tall Black Guy or Black?
Tall Black Guy, Tall Black Guy, and
And
Zoe.
that-
It's two different people that
Okay.
came together to do this particular track. They've worked on some stuff together. Tall Black Guy does a lot of stuff by himself, but he did something with a cat called Zoe. I forget the brother is singing on the song, but it's called Connected. And I actually caught up on that one maybe about 2 years ago now, when I was watching Southside, the show, the sitcom that's out of Chicago,
Yeah.
and it just came on at the very end, and you know how sometimes something just grabs you, and immediately from the first few notes, and it's like, oh, I need to get my hands on this. So yeah, right now I'll say that's probably one of my favorites. K Tronada has a couple of songs that I love too, but yeah, that's where I'm
Check
at.
that out.
All right. Well, again, I thank all of you for joining us. This
Man,
has been
thank you for having
Scenario.
me.
To meet y'all, man.
Yeah. Scenario bonus content. Make sure to check out the entire show Coming to My House on wherever great podcasts are found. And also make sure to go to our playlist, which is exclusively on Spotify. The Coming to My House playlist will be there. And that's where we'll have all the songs that our guest picked today, and a lot of other great stuff for you to listen to.
That's Marshall Jefferson. Move your body. Yeah.